Okay.
All right, well, welcome back after a little hiatus to session 29 when things are probably going to be kicking off. So how about we start, not least for Mr. Erasmus's benefit, with a quick recap of the recent events. It's been a while since Erasmus played, but, well, whoever feels like taking up the mantle.
Okay, so ever since we went on Ninjox's little drug hunt, or was it? No, it was Bean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ninjox. Um, we've been wrapped up in this sort of plot of weird aliens who have come to Earth and they're sort of prisoners, and now they've signalled a fleet to come and essentially F the planet in the A. Is that fair?
Yes, indeed they have. So you basically at the temple you realized that they were warping in. You kind of made contact with a expeditionary group or a kind of scouting group, basically of a considerable number of ships, and you went inside one of them and fucked it all up. And at the end of the fight, you managed to escape the battleground and head back to the safe reaches, where you were met by the church. So what happened after that?
So, well, we we were sent out on various missions. They had been sort of keeping tabs on our progress, and yeah, we're sort of collecting a bunch of assets to defend the planet, including a noisy motor. So we've done that essentially. We've got a bunch of sort of friendly things to help us in our fight, and we are now essentially squaring off against such.
So you got your hands on the allegiance of a ultra-terrestrial being called Naupali. Also a big old collection of war machines,
Yep.
which you got from an armory, and they have come up to the site of another asset. Wow, that's some noise coming from your mic, Erasmus.
Yeah, I'm trying to one.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
Oh, I'm trying to find the proper one. It wasn't connected, so maybe take a few seconds. Just move me.
So you managed to capture also a defense facility built into a mountain range called the Mountain Barrage, which shoots big bullets made out of lava at things. And you also got your whole hands on a big, huge Titan mech, which is currently crouched behind a mounting. You also went back to, so before the battle, which is just about to commence, you went back to the church, and they have decided to outfit you with the most powerful artifacts and abilities, and just generally everything that they could put at your disposal. So you got various things. Nai got, what did she get?
I essentially got a massively upgraded. Whatchamacallit? Oh, I can't even think. My back rig that sort of lets me hook onto things and, motorize, draw myself up.
It's a gravity sling.
Yes, it's now a gravity sling, which allows me to totally Spider-Man, and is in a sort of uncorporeal way.
Mm-hmm. And it also
Are they also swords?
Yes, you've it essentially so it's like a kind of specialized gravity control device. It can fling you about the place, and it can also exert force, which is controlled by your swords. So you basically have big magic gravity giant blades type things.
Cool.
So that was that. Shaq, what did you attain as a result of this?
I was guided through a semi-mystical, semi-mythical, semi-religious basketball experience by Dennis Rodman. And after he gave his life to teach me this technique, I attained the ability to unleash the chaos dunk.
Indeed, a truly fearsome ability. All right, so various other people who aren't here also got other stuff. Fayan got his hold on a ancient puzzle box called the Stash Box Supreme, which contains possibly the most powerful drugs known to man. So he's in the midst of dealing with all those. And Minim went off into a other plane and gorged himself on big beasties, so he's supercharged with power. So that is those things. We need also to get to Varex, which we'll get to in a second, and Erasmus. So basically, the idea with this is it's like taking you to the like kind of limit or ceiling of your abilities. Basically, all of the things that people have been kind of working towards in terms of activating their full power has been done. So, Mr. Erasmus, if you have a think while we go over Varrix's stuff about how that would look for Mr. Erasmus. So all of the kind of resources of the church are at your disposal. So everything they know, everything they have, everything they can get you is available to you. So yeah, just kind of have a think about what that might actually turn out to be. So for Varrix, you're all still at the cathedral and the council. Various others have kind of gone off to do their various things. Let me just quickly stick you over to the cathedral place.
Okay.
So, Varrix, what happens with you is that, let's see, who would it be? I think it's going to be the bird head guy. So the guy on the left over here. He or it approaches you after the meeting and so forth, where you've kind of laid out the final stakes and all that. And let's see. So it talks in chirps and tweets of the little bird in its head, but these are handily translated by, well, let's say it has like a speaker on its chest that can translate for it. And it takes you aside and, let's see, I'm not quite geared up for a full voice scene right now, but so basically what it tells you is that it lays out detailed records that have been kept on your group since you joined the Pioneers, and you can see all the details about kind of your adventures and various things about the members of your crew that have been basically researched and dug up by the council, partly just as standard procedure for kind of notable figures within the Pioneers, but also especially because of the central place that you have taken in this plan. They've really gone all out to find out kind of what they can about your pasts and your abilities and your potentials. And it says that when it comes to you, you came as a vagrant and an escapee from the from the facility where you were kind of taken to and where you underwent the changes which led to you being the creature that you are today. The last time that you saw this facility, if I recall,
it was burning.
Yes, indeed. So you busted your way out, and just remind me, was it basically just, is this like, when it kind of went down, was this just from you escaping, or was this more like a generalized kind of breakout that was happening, or maybe an attack from some outside force?
No, it was a general outside attack. It was actually the church that was knocking down the door, so they rescued me.
Oh yeah, I remember now. Okay, yeah, so they say that, and you kind of been assuming, probably it's fair to say, during this time that the facility had basically been like destroyed after you left it. But they tell the Birdman tells you that rather than being destroyed, it was occupied by the church, as they saw that it was housing a lot of powerful technology that they had not entirely kind of mastered themselves. So during this time, they've been digging around trying to find what information and other kind of resources and technology and so forth that they could. It lets you know that they've after some time, they were able to find basically a kind of hidden or locked entrance to the further depths of the facility where the more advanced work went on. You never saw that because it was kept firmly kind of annexed and basically secret from the main facility. But essentially, it was the place where they took kind of test subjects who they had success with, and they wanted to do more advanced work on. The Birdman tells you that they feel that what they found may be important to your journey, you might say, through this kind of process of evolution. And now that the war is on full, they have the warp generator kind of fully spooled up, although it's very expensive to run. But they say that in this time before the battle, they have time to take you there and show you what they found and make you an offer with regards to its use.
Okay.
Is this something that Varix would be taking up, or perhaps he doesn't want to go back to that place, or he has something else that he wants to do with this time?
I'm a little bit taken aback that they have kept it because, for me, this is a place of evil initially, but I've come a long way in my travels, and so I have learned to, not hate what I am and what has been done, and so I'm not as upset about it as I would have been years ago.
The Birdman lays out a kind of, in a rather matter-of-fact manner, kind of lays out a big schematic which outlines the basically more advanced or valuable assets that the church has control of. So all the things that you've taken are on that list. The cathedral and various other kind of structures that are part of the church, and it shows you how the technology or the facility that you came from kind of fits into that. So it's marked as being one of the kind of higher tier or higher priority items, and you can see that basically things like the existence of that, things like the action of taking over that rather than destroying it, they come under a kind of higher classification, you might say. So it's the kind of thing which normally would be kept hidden from even a lot of members of the church and certainly the greater public, exactly because, first of all, it is so powerful, and secondly, because that power and that potential is so easy to be abused. But essentially, they're showing you that they trust you enough to let you onto the fact that they handle and manage these kind of things, even though your first impression, probably many other people's first impressions, might be that that is dangerous or suspicious. Yeah, as I say, they're offering to take you there and show you something that they feel is important. Would you want to be taking them up on that and going back there? Cool. Okay, so yeah. So
Sorry,
yep.
I just heard you respond to someone who I couldn't hear. That's worrying.
Sorry, you heard who respond?
I didn't. Corvine, I heard you respond to someone who didn't say anything as far as I heard.
Can you hear Barracks?
Nope.
Say something, Barracks.
Nope, I don't hear anything.
Yeah.
Blaze, can you say something? Nope, I don't hear anything. Okay, I'm going to reload. 1 second.
Snack.
Hello, I hear Blaze.
It's just Erasmus carrying out experiments.
Hello.
Varix, I can hear you. Yep. Erasmus?
Hello.
Right. Sorry about that.
Okay, it sounds like we are back on track then. Cool. Okay, so let's resume. So they take you to the warp pad, and I think maybe slightly ignoring. I mean, theoretically, all your stuff is supposed to be kind of happening simultaneously, but let's just say there's enough time that Nye and Shaq and Erasmus, if you want to come along on this trip, then you can do so.
Sure. I'm
Yeah, why not?
totally going to
Okay,
support
so they
Varix.
usher you onto the warp pad. Once again, you're subjected to this very violent and wrenching sensation of being taken apart and dislocated to another point in time. Sorry, space rather. Maybe time as well. Who knows? But you warp into place on a kind of somewhat hastily constructed and jury-rigged looking warp platform that is set up outside of, let's see, I think it's kind of a deserty area, but the rocks they're kind of broken up and discolored, and it's almost as if someone spilt giant kind of vat or even a kind of flood of chemicals over this area because of the streaks and the kind of streaks of colors that are deposited around the rocks here. Some of them seem kind of melted and corroded away. And in particular, there is a cliff nearby, a kind of large cliff, and built into the bottom of it is what is clearly the entrance of a facility that seems to have been basically kind of. There's clear evidence of kind of explosions and fighting and fire. But again, the church seems to have basically kind of jury-rigged what repairs they can. So they've gotten the kind of main door working and some sensors and security things outside. Let's see. I think at the moment, I think at the moment there would be a fair amount of activity. So there's kind of vehicles drawn up outside and some kind of hasty accommodations that have been thrown up. There's teams of kind of workers, what would seem to be something like scientists, kind of moving around, taking equipment in and out and that kind of thing, as they seem to be taking the opportunity to glean as much knowledge as they can from it in case it will help in this battle. They take... so let's see, I think Barracks, the last you had seen of this is when you were being airlifted out of here and you saw this same scene, well, minus the church stuff, as you kind of left this facility for the first time, I guess, in your kind of living memory, more or less.
Yeah.
So you are kind of escorted inside. There's a... So the first thing that's inside is kind of something like a loading bay or a holding area where previously prisoners and kidnappees and other people that the facility captured were brought in here and basically kind of processed. So they would be immediately assessed. A fair proportion of the beings of various types who were kind of brought in on any given batch were basically deemed unsuitable, but also unable to be released because this was a secret facility, and so they were basically terminated on the spot. Obviously, this is something that you came through. And were then taken into the interior of the facility, the first section of which is basically relatively crude, just kind of holding pens and cages, and areas where basically test subjects were prepped for further experimentation by being dunked in essentially kind of vats of mutagens, which rendered your kind of genetic code in your makeup and your forms more malleable and able to be worked on. So it's all, as with the outside, the whole area here kind of shows signs of battle. Various kind of cages and doors and things have been kind of ripped open, either by the forces of the church who were coming in to occupy the place, or by the test subjects who were escaping. So it's a rather kind of somber scene that is overlaid with the current kind of hurried and flustered kind of activity of all the scientists and workers, making a great kind of cacophony of noise that contrasts with the silence that you normally experienced in this place. So with all that said, what is Varrix's, and I guess the others as well, kind of reaction to being taken through this place? For the rest of you, you probably, well, depending on how much Varrix shared, you may or may not know kind of anything about this place. And Varrix, obviously for you, it has been a long time since you've been here.
Would you have, Varrix, would you have told me about this sort of stuff?
I mean, not really. I don't really like to talk about it much, but you probably have gathered that this is not a happy part of my past.
Yeah.
I think so. Everything is already kind of messed up and like broken, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll walk through and I'll pick up some random pieces and like sort of look at them and remember how I don't know, this particular implement was jammed into my body, and how that over there was the spot where they made us, put us under pressure, so we mutated. Like think Deadpool, yeah.
I'd say
Zach
Varrix has
is
been.
respectfully silent during all this because he neither knows Varrix nor does he really know anything about technology whatsoever, having come from a Tibetan basketball cult.
But I mean, you see that the floor is so uneven that you could not ever play basketball here. So it is a place of
Wow.
horror.
Yeah, I'm just like clenched teeth trying to be strong for Varrix. Be there if he needs a shoulder to cry on, even though he's like 3 times my size. But this is like the worst thing I've ever seen. Well, apart from that time where my, home got significantly
Yeah,
higher.
we've all seen some shit, yo.
Yeah.
I feel like Varrix is, although he's maybe not necessarily talkative, I'd say his kind of general tone and demeanor throughout most of the adventures kind of come across as like relatively like confident and seeking out new things, maybe as part of kind of trying to build a new life for yourself. Does that change now that you're here?
Yeah, like have you ever seen a really tall person hunch? When they sort of fold into themselves. So like I suddenly, I think normally I'm about as size as Shaq is, but like suddenly I sort of just, I mean, anyways, I'm snake-like. I don't have so many bones, so it just not crumble. Like it's more like the largest hunch that you have ever seen.
Kind of like a great weight has kind of returned to your shoulders,
Yeah.
you might say. So they, they take you through this facility. Much of the places, like I say, this kind of holding area and then some testing rooms and kind of corridors. You may have, or you will have kind of seen these places before to kind of varying extents. So like the holding area, you will have basically been imprisoned there for a long, long time. You will have been kind of moved around, and various other people or things will have been kind of moved in and out. Sometimes you were able to kind of form a bond with them, but more often than not, they eventually got taken away either permanently or temporarily. And so they take you all that. There's no sign that it's really being operated in the same way that it was before as such. It seems more that they're basically just trying to some of the equipment is being kind of ripped out and removed. Some of it's being kind of tested over and analyzed. The power is on, but as I say, it's not kind of active as such. But they take you through to like the I don't know. Let's say it's the southern end, which is basically deeper inside the mountain, and this is a place where you never got taken before. Almost immediately as you come into this section, the kind of decor and the composition of the kind of walls and floors and so forth becomes much more advanced and sophisticated. Basically, it all looks kind of cleaner and less blood-stained. Basically, there's various there's kind of like tram lines, I guess, basically on the floor, and there's these large kind of tracked vehicles with essentially kind of cages on them of varying sizes. Some of them very large. A large kind of blast door opens up, and you're led through into the inner depths of the facility. The lighting it's all turned on, and all of the lights are in good repair, but it seems to be in kind of low lighting mode. You're taken through, you see various kind of laboratories and workrooms where the standard of the technology inside them is much higher. You can actually see in several of them, let's see. Yeah, some of the kind of holding tanks and cages and things have been kind of broken open, some of them from the inside, some from the outside. But you also catch glimpses of various rooms where there's things like large kind of cryogenic tubes where you can clearly see what appear to be the corpses of various mutated beings and creatures who didn't make it through the tests or possibly didn't make it through the battle to reclaim this place. Do you have any questions for the scientists who are escorting you as you get led through here?
As I see, so let me get this just so I don't make any horrible mistakes. They have been using this, or they've just been sort of exploring it.
Yeah, they've basically been exploring it, but you can clearly see the kind of after effects and basically the victims of the time when it was being kind of used.
But that was when I was also still there.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. You should.
Actually, no, sorry. Sorry, go ahead.
So I turned to the scientist. This is a bad place. We should not be here.
Let's say the Birdman is here with you, and the bird is just kind of like whatever is happening, the bird is always just acting like a bird, basically. So it's just like looking around and tweeting and kind of fluttering its wings and things. But the suit or robot or whatever it might be that it is perched on is it's taken on a rather more somber tone. And let's see, it says something like, even from the ashes, a new flame may burn. And it escorts you through these kind of rooms and so forth, and into a third area, distinct from the second one that you've been through, which is basically on a far larger scale. There's a very large space which has been somehow carved into this mountain. And let's see. I guess basically the space itself is kind of about the size of like a very large super tanker, like oil tanker type thing. And inside it are various kind of spaces which are laid out with, what am I thinking? Not scaffolding, but kind of superstructure, basically. It's all like beams and girders and things, within which kind of smaller subspaces are suspended, kind of made out of like glass walls and ceilings and things. So basically you can see the entire space in all of the rooms, but the various rooms are separate from each other. The Birdman, now that you're in this area and away from the workers and scientists in the second one, starts bringing up various information which pertains to Varrix's own kind of records in this place, basically. It's showing the kind of test data and the records of your kind of evolution and the tests and changes that were done to you. And it basically tells you that as you can see, this facility is separated into sections, and test subjects are brought here based on the success, or rather their resilience against the processes that they are subjected to. So the ones who are brought into the second section are the ones who survive the kind of trials and the basic procedures in the first one. They then have more advanced techniques kind of applied to them. The Birdman tells you that based on your progress through this process, you were scheduled to be taken not from the first section where you spent all of your time, not to the second section, but straight to the third section. as he lays out a mass of basically genetic data, your own genetic data, and it's being compared to that of various other test subjects. In the other subjects, there are many kind of red and black sections within this genetic code, and it kind of shows the progress over time, and that tends to increase and then reach a kind of catastrophic level for most of them, which indicates their failure in the test of this, in the face of this testing. In other words, they die or melt, or it just goes wrong in some other way. But in your case, it seems that your body and your genetic structure proved particularly resilient and capable of being subject to particularly transformative procedures. They take you through to the chamber where you were due to be brought before the facility was taken. It is extremely large. It is, let's see, I mean, it's at least as large as like an Olympic swimming pool arena, if that makes sense. So both the pool itself and also the stands around it. And indeed, it has a very large, I guess it's going to be at least as big as like an Olympic swimming pool, but much deeper as well, of let's say it's pink, just fluid or liquid that is inside it, dimly outlined in the depths of this liquid. You can see various kind of technological protrusions into the tank. I guess you could say they look like big kind of Tesla coils or big, robot kind of factory arms. There's also a huge amount of equipment laid out around this tank. There's observation areas for kind of many staff to observe the goings on and so forth. And this chamber, kind of unlike most of the others, seems to have basically been activated and brought online, the power turned on and so forth. The Birdman tells you that the manifest and the procedure for what was going to be done for you had already been laid out and were able to be accessed by the church. And it turns to face you and kind of opens out its arms and says, you've changed a lot in this life, and you've grown more powerful as you've done so. And you seem, unlike certain other victims of this place that we've seen, to have grown into and come to truly live and inhabit in your new form, and even to take a certain joy in bringing it further out and developing it. It gestures towards the tank and says, this opportunity, this circumstance, while this facility is still operational and still running, and while we still have access to the information, represents an opportunity for you to culminate this process, which seems to have characterized your life, and to undergo the full breadth and depth of transformation, which has been growing and forming and developing inside you. It says, we don't know the precise nature of the form that will result. That was only speculated about even by the staff of this facility. They made various conjectures, but ultimately it was an experiment, and the result is something they could only guess at. But they did, the overall purpose of this place was to create extremely powerful beings from the base matter of the population of this land, to make something that would enter the tier of power that is accorded to the great monsters and forces that realm across this land, to become and to harness a being on that level, rather than to eternally be victim to it and subject to its power. That is the mission statement that was laid out by this facility. Given given that, it is your choice whether to finish the procedure or whether to abandon it. And if you bid it, we will destroy this this equipment.
So given that I have studied, mutations and how all of this works a little bit, can I have a look at the, the process or the documents or something and see if I can make sense of
Definitely.
them?
Yeah, definitely. So so the Birdman hands over these records, which comes in the form of like batting over these kind of holographic displays so you can look through them. Let's see. I think so. At a first glance, it basically accords with what they've said. This tank here is a kind of much more advanced version of the things that you were subjected to, essentially being like bathed in chemicals and kind of electrocuted and having various other things done to it, which will have, basically, for most beings, it would literally just render you down into goop. But because of the procedures that have been done on you to make you more resilient to that process, it enables your body to kind of reform and to express a phenotype through a process of like direct transmutation, basically. So to take in energy and matter from the medium that you would be immersed in, and to use that in a kind of hyper, what's the word? Kind of hyper mitosis, where you would just, it would be a process of what would normally be completely uncontrolled just mutation. But because of your unique nature, it would be that would render you into a form that fully expresses all of the monstrous material that has been added to your genetic code, while freeing you from, as it were, the base structure of your body, i.e., the human form. In terms of getting more detail about it, you'll have to make me a roll, and that is going to be, let's see, I think this is going to be difficulty 6, intellect, but I think because of your studies, you're going to be specialized in this, and because the Birdman is here to explain it to you, that would be an asset.
Okay. So my pitch is that this is the culmination of all my own research, and I have learned a lot since those hacks have tried to get at this.
Yeah.
So let me see if I can understand it, and then
Yeah, for
we'll
sure.
take it from there. But maybe I can make improvements.
Nice. Okay, so you, it's all rather strange to you, but also given that you were in this facility before, you kind of picked up some of the language and terminology that they used, and that helps you to understand this as well. And the first thing you come to see is that during your adventures, you've been directing your own mutation through the use of basically like swigging chemicals and things, and like rubbing them on yourself and things. So you've got a handle on like how mutation is affected by the chemicals that you use and the ways that you use them. And you see that essentially this kind of chemical bath here is kind of like the ultimate version of that. So you have, or you could have, more or less full control over the types of chemicals and substances and materials that are introduced, how they are like charged or heated or cooled or subjected to whatever other processes you might want. And also because of all the equipment and computers and stuff, that essentially serves as like somewhat of a, that automates it somewhat. So you have some ability to specify the kind of mutations and changes that you would want to introduce, and change the process to make that happen, essentially. So, with that said, like slightly more in mechanical terms, what you have here is an opportunity for you to choose what your final kind of form is going to be. It can be anything as large as the pool, or maybe even a bit larger. And what I had kind of thought, although it's purely your decision, I'd basically been thinking something along draconic lines.
Yeah. See, my thinking is, I mean, when I first, so I'm going to go out of character
Yeah,
for a
yeah, for
second.
sure.
But my thinking when I first started the Varix was that he's more of a not shapeshifter, but like a adapter, right? Who
Yeah, yeah.
adapts to like all these situations, and then just the roles worked out, and he turned into a snake, giant snake monster, which I think is amazing. And so you got to roll with the roles. But I think one thing that I want to maintain, or if I have a final form, it should be something that allows for variability. So something
yeah.
that can change and adapt and morph and do all those sorts of things. So I think I like the draconic form idea, but maybe also there are
Yeah,
some.
like what I kind of like about that is, you're essentially how dragons are kind of regarded in Dungeons and Dragons. They're like, you know, kind of the personification of a form that is superior to humans, if that makes sense.
Right.
More powerful and destructive, while at the same time being like bestial, basically, and a creature rather more than a person, even if they do have kind of personality. So I kind of like the idea of you just coming out into this battle not as just a soldier, even a particularly advanced and kind of powerful one, but as something on a level higher than that. You're going to be a monster, essentially,
Yeah.
a powerful beast. But but obviously that doesn't have to take the form of literally just the classic reptilian, like dragon type form. It can be however you feel best expresses Varix's deal.
So. Yeah. So have you ever read X Factor?
No.
The comic. So there is a character called I think he's called Darwin, right? Universal. I feel like you've recommended this to me.
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, anyways, so I think I would like to have the ability to like remain sometimes in human company and so forth. So have if I'm always like 20 meters long and I have wings, that's a little tricky, I think. But I also like the idea of just being bestial and other. So, God, can we switch to Mr. Erasmus's while I immerse myself and think about what it is that I'm actually doing?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because this requires like a little more thought than I had.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's say. So, is it fair to say that you are, you are going to be going through this kind of procedure and getting in the tank,
Yeah,
basically?
yeah, and I this is my way of conquering my last fear of this, of accepting who I am. And
yeah, so you're all stood on this kind of balcony type thing above the tank. You've gone through all this data, and you've been, the Birdman and the other technicians have been kind of helping guide you through that and start to get the equipment set up. The lights are starting to come up in the room and in the tank, kind of illuminating its depths as it kind of waits for you expectantly, as it were, below you.
I think I would sort of voice concerns at this point and ask, "Are you really going through with this?"
don't worry,
But,
I'm still me.
but what if it goes wrong?
Sometimes, I'll take the what should I call it, the reproductive bud that I have been carrying around
Nice.
in my skin sack, and I walk up to Nai and I give it to her and say, even if this goes wrong, there's always a part of me with you, and then I'll give her my reproductive blood.
A single tear rolls down my face, and I say,
That is really
"Gross."
cute in like a very disturbed way. Yeah.
Yeah.
I say,
All right.
if this does go wrong, your ghost better be a fast runner because I'm going to kick its ass.
All right. So with that, the facility is kind of whirring and humming with energy. The kind of crackles of energy are arcing throughout the big pink pool of liquid, and the Birdman walks up to you and kind of gestures towards it and says, "I think it's time to start the procedure."
Yeah. So I shed my skin, as in the armor that I have, and I slowly walk into the pool,
Mhm.
and then I turn around, but I just keep walking forward, and I turn around, and then I just raise my hand and I give like a little thumbs up as I walk down, like
It's like the
Terminator
end of
style.
Terminator 2. No.
Except it's just like a snake tail with a weird like glove taped onto it.
Yeah. Well,
Do do
That's
do do do
and then
do.
the glove actually, well, it probably comes off at this point, and
yeah. Actually, as soon as it hits the liquid, it just instantly kind of boils off, basically. As such is the like power and energy that is kind of running through this liquid. However, you do see Varix's form basically getting shadowier and shadowier as it kind of descends into this pool. And then there's let's say there's like a really loud kind of snap as a strong electrical charge passes through the pool and it turns, what's the word? It turns opaque, so you can no longer see inside. So while all that is happening, we're going to go back to Mr. Rasmus. So actually, let's slightly retcon and say that Erasmus didn't go into this kind of facility with Barracks. So in terms of Erasmus, not all of you will have, well, specifically Shaq won't have kind of played all that much with his character, but the way he presents is as a kind of almost like a vaudeville kind of like stage magician. And he, the way people have gotten to know him is as a kind of illusionist and somebody who kind of does like well, he made his living before by doing like magic shows basically, but during the course of the adventure he has been revealed to be in charge of in possession of rather more advanced and powerful magic, basically, which is known as Reaganomics, which is the power to convince someone of something and thereby make it real. And as I recall, Mr. Rasmus, this is something that your parents were investigating, but then in some way it made them come to harm, which is how you ended up traveling on your own.
Yeah, exactly. So I think there's a bit of echo on my end, I think. But anyway, since he has not been on the last few adventures or whatever, he has been studying this Reaganomics and found that the starting points may be something called bedtime for Bonzo.
This ancient and mysterious text.
Yeah, created by the prophet of Reaganomics, an earlier work. So.
Nice. So yeah, I mean, I think you've been in contact with the church, and they would definitely have they have a huge library and a kind of accumulation of knowledge, and I think probably it would have been very tempting to Mr. Erasmus to be excused from the more recent missions and so forth as he was leafing through books and so forth, and he managed to kind of find a lead on this thing. And I think, I'm imagining kind of like having to spend a lot of time basically like analyzing and coming to understand kind of the equivalent of a incredibly complicated like GUI system for actually being able to track down this kind of book in the first place. But yeah, like I imagine, so yeah, I think you will have been able to come across kind of a copy of this and various other like texts central to this bizarre and advanced school, which I think it's fair to say it would have been classed as forbidden at some point. Like it kind of proved too powerful and too tempting and too corrupting to those who used it, because the potential to basically overwrite reality is just too great of a power for most people to be trusted with. So I almost think maybe he's been kind of secretive about looking it up, or maybe not. I mean, maybe he's found sympathetic church priests who share his interest in this thing and want to unlock its power. What do you think is more like, Mr. Rasmus?
I think it's more likely that he has been very secret with it, because both his parents, they disappeared in mysterious ways due to this terrible curse, and also since he's been able to manifest giant strawberries and other outerworldly things. So it is very dangerous stuff. So he's been very working in secret with them.
Nice. I almost imagine like maybe he's been like maintaining an illusory clone of himself who's just like studying other stuff, but then the actual Erasmus has been like buried away in like the darkest depths of this and rarely visited corridors of this kind of library, and just kind of working by like well, not candlelight, but like by little illusory lamps and things. Okay, so he's been working away on this and trying to crack its secrets. I guess I'd ask, like, has he been doing this with the intention, like, is he doing this because he wants to, help the church and the group that he's been working with? Or is it more for personal reasons and maybe even a hidden agenda? Like, is he kind of straight up about is he doing this with good intentions, I guess would be the question.
Well, of course he's not an evil person, so he's trying to gain more power for the good of people. At least that's what the shadow clone upstairs is telling other people.
Nice. And so I guess before we go further, let's see. So what I'm trying to come up with here is basically what is going to be the culmination of this power as kind of wielded by Erasmus. So we've seen before that as he's been as he's gained the ability to cast these kind of more and more elaborate illusions, that naturally kind of combines with the power of Reaganomics to increase his potential. If you have these big ideas and concepts and impressions that you can work on people and get them to believe those, that's naturally more inherently powerful than just trying to get them to believe that you didn't have that card up your sleeve this whole time or something like that. I guess I'm basically wondering, is he going to be more interested in using Reaganomics as an amplifier in this way to basically be able to like make things physically like real in a kind of very physical sense, like to summon huge objects and to kind of change the landscape and to create obstacles and remove them and change the matter of things around him? Or is he more interested in using Reaganomics as a means to kind of rewrite reality and the facts of kind of what happens, and maybe even what people are saying and thinking and wanting? Like, how abstract is the power that he is going for versus how concrete?
2 seconds. Yeah, the power of economics is all about convincing people that something is the way it is, even though there might be some contrary facts about it. So at the end goal will be some sort of inspiring effect to the otherwise more common illusions. So maybe grant them the power of again strawberries in some sort by watching this illusion.
Mr. Rasmus
really,
is really interested in strawberries.
I mean, I want your battle cry to be strawberry power.
Okay, but yeah. So this is kind of more in the realms of like inspiration, and I guess you might say like what a president does, in the sense of like giving large groups of people kind of motivations and beliefs and ideologies that will help them to prosper and succeed. Is that
Yeah.
kind of fair to say that that's like an element of the power that he is trying to achieve here?
Yeah, that is the going from the more statecraft or to statecraft.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Right. Yeah, I'm getting a nice handle on that. And let's see. I guess the next thing would be okay. So you get your hands on this book. Sorry, what was it called again?
Bedtime for Bonzo.
All right, and I'm actually not familiar with that. So is that like a book that was written by Reagan, or?
It's a comedy where he tries to prove a nature nurture debate by teaching a chimp. So it was one of his last breakout hits before he became a president.
Oh, okay. Nice. I like that. So I think you come across this in the form of like it's a book that when you read it is in the form of kind of a strange parallel that is told in the form of like dialogue and also brief descriptions of what is happening. In other words, it's a screenplay. But when you study the book for long enough and apply your arcane arts and research skills to it, you manage to find a way to activate it whereby it, let's see, it would help if I'd seen the film, but okay. So what I'm thinking is basically it basically activates like a hologram of kind of the film, but and at first as you and let's say it's up to you, but I feel like maybe you've acquired kind of a couple of kind of church priests, so maybe on the more like shady side, probably not particularly high up, but maybe they've been interested in this area and they kind of find out what you're doing. So, but they promise not to kind of reveal it, and I don't know. Maybe you kind of managed to co-opt them somewhat with Reaganomics in the process. But in any case, as they're kind of watching it with you, they're really baffled because to them they're just watching this slightly corny, maybe slightly kind of puerile kind of film. But as you're watching it, because of your intense study of Reaganomics and of seeing that which is unseen, you manage to see all of the hidden codes and schemas that are kind of laid out in this strange play. And reveal the hidden information in it and see how it relates to I guess basically you're seeing that the chimp is like a symbol for the unenlightened mind, and the teacher is the symbol for basically kind of knowledge and the accumulation of that, and how that can shape and dictate reality. How reality can be very different from a kind of unworked or undeveloped person, like a kind of person in the wilds, versus somebody who's been taught, i.e., indoctrinated with a different version of reality. And let's see.
Like the maybe like the parenting techniques that are espoused in this are actually thaumaturgical in nature.
Yeah, exactly. It's all kind of a metaphor and a code for what you actually need to do in order to truly take control of someone's reality. Now, So Reagan is Reagan is starring in this, right? In the actual film.
Yeah, he's like a professor type, studying behavior.
So after going through,
psychology.
okay, yeah. So after going through this, story and the kind of story of teaching the ape, kind of right towards the end, at the stage that would be the kind of like where they kind of uncover the moral of the story, you might say. You see something which the other two don't. Throughout this film, as you've been holographic play, as you've been watching it and interacting with it, you have been, let's say you've been picking up on the cues on how you have to interact with this thing, and basically you've been kind of moving to certain places within the scenes, and let's say like picking up small objects or like rewriting or scribbling notes on objects and kind of things like that. And over the course, pardon me, of the story, you've been starting to actually have more and more effect on it, and kind of integrating your silent observer character into the story. So you'll change something, and then the kind of characters will remark on it, and that will change what they're saying and how the parable kind of unfolds. And also, I'm seeing to the others during the course of this, although theoretically it's all like non-interactive, like it just happens regardless of what you do. You've been noticing that Reagan's character has very occasionally looked up and caught your eye. And as I say, at this kind of final stage where they would be uncovering the kind of moral or whatever, Reagan's character turns to you, Mr. Erasmus, and says, but of course, the most special lesson in all this, I'm not going to try and do a Reagan voice, the most special lesson in all this is for you. And he says, why don't you step into my study? We have something to discuss. And so basically he kind of at this stage goes off script and just like walks out of the scene, and the other characters at first are just kind of continuing to say their lines, but then they just kind of peter off and look utterly bewildered as they're unable to deal with the fact that the story that they're in is just kind of going completely off track. The professor walks across the room and opens a door and shows you, Erasmus, into like a study, basically. It's all kind of wood walls and furniture. There's lots of kind of books, and there's a desk with a whole bunch of papers and stuff kind of piled up on it. He takes a seat in a large leather armchair and bids you to sit down in the opposite one, offering you a drink, I guess, from a 70s style drinks cabinet.
So I gratefully take this drink, and then in the same time I manifest a pack of cigars in front of him.
He takes this as a good kind of friendly sign, basically, and he gives you like an avuncular wink as he takes one of these cigars, lights it, and kind of settles back in his armchair and regards you with a steady gaze, and then starts to speak to you. I think at this stage, like as we're watching the scene, the kind of sound goes out, and we're just having like a montage of them kind of having a very long and in-depth conversation with each other while they enjoy like cigars and whiskey and things. What I would like you to do, so basically the form that this conversation has is he's basically talking to you about the efforts that you've been making and the progress that you've been making, and he's talking in kind of a circumspect, like kind of a diplomatic manner, you might say. And by that I mean it's clear that there's another conversation going on beneath the the conversation that's being spoken aloud, if that makes sense. And the gist of it seems to, the gist of this unspoken conversation seems to be that as you come to understand the precepts and lessons that you've been seeking, then you start to come to the attention of the powers that be, is how he describes it. And essentially his line of conversation is that when you come to understand the powers that be, the way that they work and their secrets, then you get the opportunity to become one of the powers that be, because the only thing that it comes down to is being the one who is saying how things are and what the situation is and what the choices are on how to proceed. When you have the power to do that, then you have the power to completely control the situation and the circumstances that people perceive themselves to be in. But it's also clear to you that this is kind of a test in a way, because as he's explaining all this to you, he is trying to position himself as one of the powers that be, and to imply that as somebody who is coming to the game late, as it were, it is also possible for him to completely distract and derail your path into becoming one of the powers that be. And in saying that, he is trying to make it so. So this is a test of your own Reaganomical power, basically, to see if you can out-talk and outmaneuver him in this conversation, even though he is the one that has set up this situation in this conversation. If you're able to do that, then that is the true test of whether somebody is able to exert this power. So, with that said, yeah. So I'm not going to play out the full conversational parry back and forth, because I can't work out exactly how to do that. But let us at least have you make a intellect roll. This is going to be, to exert your own kind of power and control over this conversation. I think because you are going up against the founder of Reaganomics itself, this is going to be difficulty. I think it's going to be difficulty 9. But let's see. I mean, you're definitely going to be specialized in this.
Sure.
I guess what I would like at first, if you have any, I realize this is kind of somewhat abstract kind of problem that I'm posing to you. But do you have any particular insight or thoughts on how Mr. Erasmus would deal with this kind of situation? You know, he's been sat down with essentially a master manipulator, and he has to try and manipulate him, and I guess convince both himself and Reagan that he's misunderstood, and that truly the person he's talking to now is not only fit to sit at the same table with him, but possibly to sit at the head of that table.
Yeah, so Mr. Rasmus, he starts by slowly just repeating some of the words, so that Reagan is telling him, maybe when he finished a sentence, just repeat the last word, and then slowly but gradually repeating more of the words, but then changing certain one of them. So when he says that the weak should do, then he says the strong that stands before him. And then that way he's slowly changing the subject, and eventually trying to reverse it back onto Reagan.
Yeah, I like that. So, you know, Reagan is naturally a glad-hander and a diplomat, and he responds very well to this. Or no, let's put it another way. He's coming at this conversation as trying to exert and assert his own power and authority in the situation, basically. So when you start to mirror and kind of complement that, by kind of repeating and emphasizing what he's saying, it naturally puts him in a mindset of thinking that you are of the same mind of him, by which he thinks he means he is successfully kind of convincing you of his worldview, essentially, or the worldview that he's trying to imprint onto you. But and as a result, his kind of defenses are slightly down, and as a result, he doesn't quite and he doesn't quite notice the way that you're slightly twisting his words to subtly put yourself on a more equal footing. And okay, so at this stage, I think let's have you make a roll. Actually, I'm gonna put it down to difficulty 8. If that wasn't what I said before. So yeah, it's going to be difficulty 8 intellect roll. You're definitely going to be specialized, but I think at this stage you don't have an asset. I think if you succeed this roll, you'll have an asset on the next one.
And it's the red one, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, cool.
Nice. Okay, so weaving your verbal tricks, you're able to keep toe-to-toe with Reagan, basically, and basically kind of keep up with him without giving the impression that you are keeping up with him. So now that he's, you basically managed to slightly tweak and rework the narrative that he's presenting slightly to your advantage. So there are certain gaps in what he's saying that basically leave open the possibility that, if he can do it, and if he can kind of take control and power in this way, then it stands to reason that somebody else could as well. You kind of bend the conversation in that direction. And you start kind of going into the territory where, if somebody can do it, and if you are sitting here as an equal with him, then you specifically can do it. And this is getting into the territory where you're defining your own power in relation to him, which is not what he intended in the first place. Let's see. So at this stage, you're kind of poised to take control and direction of this conversation, and you realize that if you can get the edge on him in that sense, then from there, it's kind of a self-perpetuating cycle. Once you have that, you can further define the terms of the conversation and end up bending it to your purposes. So to achieve that, as he starts to realize something is going on and starts to kind of deploy his verbal defenses against you, give me another intellect roll difficulty 8, again specialized, but this time with an asset. And if you have any ideas on this, any more spin that you think Erasmus will be able to put on this, or any tricks, maybe particularly any tricks that he might be able to pick up to inject, that he's basically kind of picked up as a result of his adventures, maybe his interactions with the group or the quests that he's completed, the kind of knowledge that, knowledge of the real world as it exists today, that he is at a disadvantage on because he's just a figment of an ancient grand manipulator trapped in a holographic film.
Yeah. So one of the red threads of this world is that it's very colorful and there's a lot of changes all the time.
Absolutely.
And as an illusionist, is that Erasmus's wheelhouse. So slightly as he's gaining more and more control of this conversation, he starts out like small illusions, like then there's a butterfly just passing by, and the ceiling is slowly changing more to magenta with a bit of stars in it, and so to make Regan a bit more uncomfortable in this otherwise domain of his.
Yeah, I think, so I like that. So you notice that, yes, the figure that you're talking to is this kind of master manipulator and the founder of this whole school of thought that you're trying to learn. But you can notice that his surroundings are very set in his ways. Basically, it's like a very particular milieu that he feels the most comfortable in, and that he's kind of projecting around you in order to give himself an advantage. But as part of the kind of conversational back and forth, he has to kind of allow you a certain amount of leeway over this and to make your own little illusions and images and things to illustrate your points. But when you start to take as the subject for these images and kind of visual metaphors and things that you use in your conversation, when you start to draw those from kind of the world outside and to, open up a vision of the sky as a metaphor for kind of the future and possibility and things, or to, introduce a butterfly as a kind of metaphor for like chaos and how you have to take control of it and things. This is kind of putting him on edge as you start to emphasize the fact that power also involves understanding the world, and that relies on, actually experiencing it and contending with it. And that part of power is the ability to control change and to remain on top even as things change. And you kind of you introduce the idea into this conversation that that is something that he is inherently unable to do, and that in order to truly maintain power, you need to be more actively engaged in the world. So I think with that, I'll give you 2 assets on this task. So it's difficulty 8, specialized 2 assets.
Well, and also remember that this film is in black and white, and so the introduction of color
Yeah, I love that.
completely changes the whole game. Like this Ronald Reagan that's in this film has never even seen the color magenta.
Yeah. Throw in an X-wing.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Yeah, so you're literally changing not just what is in the scene, but the actual nature of what can be in the scene by introducing colors into it. Yeah, I like that a lot. Okay, so go ahead and give me this roll. Very nice. Okay, so with these techniques, you are finally able, you've been talking for hours, but and Reagan had been expecting after this to essentially have brought another powerful, inquisitive person under his thrall, and to turn your motives and goals to his ends. But what ends up happening is you end up proving that it is not possible to do that to someone who truly has taken control of his destiny and has taken responsibility for his own existence. And as a result, you end the conversation on a witty quip that seems off the cuff, but actually basically sums up and puts a slightly cynical twist on everything that you've been talking to up until now, and serves as the rhetorical equivalent of like a mic drop, basically. And so with that, with that, I think the scene kind of fades out as the music comes up in like an old-fashioned like the end kind of screen, and as you return to your normal reality, having taken on not just the knowledge that the film taught you, but also the the mastery over the fact that you have and control this knowledge now to an extent that nobody else, even in the church, does, as you have truly attained the secret of wielding this kind of power. So you wake up, as it were, in this kind of library room as the book closes itself, and I guess I'm wondering, do you have any particular ideas on like how he would react to that, or possibly, if not that, then like what he would do, having now attained this power and finding yourself just kind of located in the church? Like, is there anything that you would go and do, or would you simply accept the fact that you have this knowledge now?
Well, at first, will he just try to see if his normal illusions has changed it anyway? Are they more
I'm wondering, like maybe.
Like,
because his presentation and the image that he puts out is obviously strongly based on both his own like image of himself and beliefs about himself, but also what he's projecting into the world. So I'm wondering if maybe he somehow looks different, having gained this kind of new awareness. Like maybe his outfit has changed or his look has changed, something like that.
Yeah, well, as it started, it was a very scruffy tux, even though it's magnificently designed and everything, it was very worn and used, of course.
Yeah,
so,
you've been through the wars in it.
Yeah, but now his wardrobe have taken on a more finished side. So there's a small gold seam in the suit jacket, and otherwise his clothes a little bit more refined and of course immaculate.
Yeah, I feel like one side effect of this is that because Mr. Erasmus has always been quite fastidious about kind of cleanliness and maintaining a well-groomed appearance, and I feel that having attained the level of this legendary figure that is called a president, part of that is the presidential appearance or look, basically. And of course that involves always being perfectly groomed and always having the appearance that it's not just a case of you like managing your own wardrobe. You have the proper wardrobe with all the resources going into that it requires.
Yeah, you have the nation's wardrobe at your disposal.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Cool. Okay, so yeah, I think that'll serve basically as a kind of illustration of how you've truly now mastered this art of Reaganomics. And when it comes to making things real that need to be real, even if maybe their reality before was never quite acknowledged in the proper way that it needs to be, you have now become a master of that. So, Barracks, have you been able to kind of put any thought into how you've been brewing in the tank?
So I definitely go more draconic, and even in the smaller form. So I sort of the smallest form I can stay is my current form, but there's some wings and even more dragon-like, bestial-like. But then I also found there's a mutation that makes you change your size.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you can increase it by up to like 100 or 200% or something silly like that. And normally that's just for a limb, but I'm just going to apply that to everything. So basically, if it comes to it, he can also just become an actual huge dragon type thing.
Yeah, so I'm thinking so the reason this tank is so large is because it's kind of uncertain exactly, well, how large this final form you're going into will be. But the kind of liquid, the medium that you're in, basically can provide any biomass that is needed to attain that larger size. But it sounds like part of what you're doing is using kind of seemingly impossible advancements and evolutions to have the ability not just to have that mass and size at your disposal, but basically kind of pack it away, as it were, to take on like a smaller size when you want to, but then to be able to transform back into that larger size.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay, yeah. And you've had a very like snake-like, or I guess you might say kind of naga-like form up until now. Is that kind of still the case, or are you taking on...
So when I think dragon, I think Eastern, not Western dragon.
Okay, yeah.
So sky snake.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you have a snout?
Well, obviously, how are you going to get booped otherwise?
Awesome dragon mustaches.
But like so your face up until now has maintained kind of at least roughly humanoid kind of factor. Is that still the case, or has it become more like bestial and had any other changes with it?
So one of the things that I have to think it through a little bit, but maybe one of the problems that this transformation is I just lost my voice. Basically, I can't actually speak anymore. So obviously, I think one of the group capacities that I had is that I can communicate telepathically with Nai.
Yeah.
So I can talk through her, and then maybe I'll expand that capacity later on.
Yeah, I really like that because I kind of like the idea that Barracks is, to an extent, like just literally giving up his humanity in the sense of being of a common form, with humans.
Yeah.
He's still essentially himself, but I kind of like the idea of putting that kind of slight barrier between him and most humans, but still having that link with Nye, which is enabling him to kind of remain human as someone who can communicate and make his thoughts kind of known.
So, guys, whenever I hold up my hand and start opening and closing it while I'm speaking, that means that it's Varric speaking.
Exactly.
Oh, maybe you got like a snake sock puppet that you.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I put the
or you know what? Actually, now that I think about it, I think no. Let's go full out. So I think I can't actually become small again. I'm just that big now. I'm huge, but because I mean, every now and then that might become a bit of an issue. That reproductive bud that I gave, there's like a mini Varex that sort of can like unfold, like transformer type thing. Like it's a part of me. Like it's telepathically connected to me, so it's like an arm, or it walks.
Yeah.
But it's not as powerful, obviously. It's just like
so it's essentially like a minion that you can kind of control or kind of possess, as it were.
When you say it's a mini you, how many are we talking?
Well, see, the other thing that I was thinking about is that basically I sort of spoke this through with I'm going to be a dragon, right? So I need a rider, obviously. I have to have a dragon rider. So Nai is going to be the dragon rider. But then when I have the mini me, that's so small that it can ride on Nai's shoulder.
Nice. So it's the dragon rider.
It's wonderful.
All right.
It's like on the shoulder, like a parrot, but it's a dragon.
Okay, nice. And I guess we also need to do this for Mr. Erasmus, but let's come back to that. So I think for pretty much everyone, well, we haven't really got to Bean yet, but certainly for Shaq and Nye, what they have partly learned, which is pertinent to this battle in particular, is like a new kind of offensive or defensive or movement or all of those moves that can be used in battle. So what is the main kind of like offensive fighting capability that this new form possesses?
So obviously just huge power, right? It's a giant dragon. Flight and speed, so can obviously fly real fast. And I'm thinking some kind of breath, because again,
definitely, it's definitely got to be some kind of breath attack for a dragon.
I'm thinking though not fire, because
no, it can be like anything, like
nano machine breath.
Exactly.
Atomic breath.
Go like
I think acid or something like that.
In fact, actually, I think because your thing is kind of like adaptability, basically, and you're not just like a regular beast. You have other capabilities at your disposal. I kind of actually like the idea of you just having like multiple attacks. Like they would be called like breath attacks in D&D, but you can just do like fire, cold, acid, nanomachines that like transform stuff, or maybe we'll be able to think of other ones on the fly as well. But
I mean, there is a mechanic that is sort of cool that maybe I can adapt, which would fit with the adaptability thing, where you take what is thrown at you and just kind of reflect it. Like
I like that.
Like that energization thing.
Yeah, like kind of absorbing attacks. And I kind of like the idea of like whether you're absorbing some kind of other attack or whether you're just preparing your own, that it kind of changes your form. Like, if you're doing like an ice attack or something, then, your forms go kind of, your scales rather go kind of icy and blue and like metallic looking and kind of frosted and things like that. Or if you're doing like, a fire attack, then you kind of semi-set on fire and you take on like a lava rock like appearance and
I love
stuff
it.
like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. All right. So cool. So we got dragon barracks and stuff. Do you think, Erasmus, because your abilities are going to be a bit more like abstract and a bit more kind of situational, and also because you're like a secretive guy, I think maybe if we kind of leave exactly what abilities this gets you kind of for now, and like you can kind of have a think like after the session of what they want to be, or you can just come up with them on the fly, or if you want, you can just kind of message me and we can go over some ideas, whatever suits you best. But I kind of like the idea of him just like pulling these strange abilities and tricks like out of his, out from under his coat when the time needs.
Cool.
Cool. Okay, so I think that is basically pretty much everyone in the main party who has got their significant upgrade from this whole process and is now fully prepared for the battle ahead. So with that, before we start kicking things off, let's take a 10-minute break.
Okay.
So resume at 12
Pausing
past.
stream.
Okay. Beverage up.
I know that